Hey, welcome to episode 47 of the Superpowered Fancast. This is Darren. Just want to say welcome back. I know it's been a couple weeks since I've done an episode. It's been a while since I've done a YouTube episode as well, but I'm going to get back into making sure that I'm doing them on the regular. But I just want to say to everyone who's been listening, who's been watching on the YouTube channel, I appreciate you and everything that you do. And I just kind of want to get right into it because there's been a lot of stuff going on in the since the last time that I recorded, and hopefully the recording on this is better. Like fingers crossed, but we'll see. And I think it's going to work this time. Either way, every episode's a learning experience. So I'm learning from this one, and I'll do better on the next one. But just getting into it automatically, the first thing I want to talk about is Solo. Solo, a Star Wars story. Now, I am one of the people who, when it was initially announced that there was going to be a Solo movie, I I thought, why? I mean, I literally sat there and I thought, why? Why would they make a movie about Han Solo when, I mean, Harrison Ford has given the definitive performance of the character? Like, I didn't think there was anything that really needed to be said. He's a rogue. He's a scoundrel. He's a galaxy badass. I mean, there's nothing else that you could say about Han Solo that that I think that your imagination couldn't have created. Like, I think his adventures, the adventures in my mind, I thought would be a better film than anything that Lucasfilm could bring out. And then you couldn't have Harrison Ford back in it, so I never thought that there was a reason for a Han Solo movie, so I was reticent to actually go and see it. And then I just decided to go, and I can tell you right now, I really enjoyed it. I thought it was incredibly fun. I loved the cast. I loved the visuals. I thought that there were some great moments in the film. Like, everyone seemed to be enjoying themselves, like doing their best. I thought it was I thought, if anything, I thought it was fun. Just to boil down everything, but I am going to kind of get into some of the details and some of the reasons why I enjoyed it. And one of the main things is that if you really think about the trilogy films, you think about like the Skywalker films and all of those, and I love them. I love every one of them. I love everything that they add to the canon, everything they add to the story. But one of the things that was missing, I'm going to say, from the last two films, from both The Force Awakens and The Last Jedi, they seemed, and even Rogue One, they all seemed like really heavy because they were all about the either the birth of the rebellion, or how important it was to get the information on the Death Star in Rogue One, to continuing the legacy of Luke Skywalker and Leia and Han in Force Awakens, and how heavy everything is with the philosophy of the Jedi, and in the Last Jedi. With all of those things there, it kind of all of the films seemed a little heavy, like they had some weight on them, and that's fine. I think that's great, in fact, because that's what I really want to see from these films. Like, I want the mythology to continue. I want the Jedi Order to be restored. I want to see that story. What made Solo different was the fact that it was fun. In fact, it made a point of being fun. And I think that's why I really enjoyed the film, is because it was a heist film. It was a heist film. Everyone was a badass. I loved Donald Glover as Lando. I loved Emilia Clarke as Kira. I loved Willie Harrelson as Beckett. Everyone in the film seemed to be doing a lot, but because it was on the fringe of the bigger Star Wars story, it I think it worked better. I think it worked better as a film, because I again, it took a lot of the heavy mythology stuff off the table, and just made a really fun film, a really fun Star Wars film. And I think that's what made it work. And I'm gonna just be out there and say it. Like all the people who hated the Last Jedi, I don't know why you hated the Last Jedi. I don't really particularly care, but if you didn't particularly like the Last Jedi, that's fine. But this is Solo's a different film. Solo actually kind of has that classic Star Wars filmmaking to it, and I think that's all. I think that's all a testament to Ron Howard. I think he did a great job of kind of bringing back the fun and the wonder of Star Wars, and the this is a really great film. I'm definitely one of those people who I've literally said I'm perfectly willing to eat crow on this because I doubted its reason for being, and I'm the first one to say I was absolutely wrong. I think it's a really great film, and I'm hoping. I mean, even though box office on it, especially I say especially the first weekend wasn't great. I honestly think it's a movie worth seeing. It's definitely a movie worth seeing for people who love Star Wars and love the characters. I think you're gonna enjoy it, and I'm gonna recommend going to see it. I think I gave it an 8 out of 10, but it is definitely a movie worth seeing. If you're a Star Wars fan, if you say that you're a Star Wars fan, if you are truly a Star Wars fan, you're gonna go and see Solo, and you're gonna find things that you enjoy. You're gonna find things maybe you don't enjoy. I think like the first maybe 10 to 15 minutes of the film dragged a little for me, but once it really started going, it didn't stop, and I was on board for that journey. I thought it was incredible. Again, I thought it was incredibly fun. I know I keep saying that, but I mean it. It was a fun movie. So it's definitely one that I'm going to recommend that people go and see. And don't let the naysayers keep you from experiencing something. Like everything in the geek world, if you don't support it, they won't make it. So if you do support it, they'll make more of it, and maybe they'll make something that you like, maybe they'll make something that you don't. But at the same time, if we stop now, if we step back and stop supporting these geek things that we've campaigned for years to get, then honestly, it's on us when they start to stop making them, when they go away, and we start sitting around wondering, hey, why can't we have this? Why can't we have this movie? It'll be on us because we started the process of not supporting the things that we loved because maybe they weren't maybe they weren't made the exact way we wanted them to. And then, it'll transition from there, it'll be our fault. Now, speaking of other things, just kind of get into something a little lighter. Deadpool 2 is another big summer film that came out, the sequel to Deadpool, starring Ryan Reynolds and Marina Baccarin and Josh Brolin, and this is a really fun movie. Now, I'm gonna be one of those people that says it was fun. It was a great, funny movie. I didn't like it as much as the first, and and again, it doesn't take anything away from it being a funny film. It was incredibly funny. It has some really funny moments. I just think it didn't really elevate much in way of action or adventure. I mean, there's some great scenes, and I like that they still kind of are pushing the element. There's some great cameos, like definitely like the same thing. It's like just to kind of just honestly to kind of go back to Solo. When you do watch it, there's a scene at the end of the movie, like really towards the end of the movie, that you're gonna be excited about. And it's not a Marvel film, so there's no after credit scene, but you're gonna want to stick around towards the end of the film because it does have a great scene for all of you Clone Wars and Rebels fans. It's definitely something for you. But getting back to Deadpool 2, There's some great funny moments. There's a great kind of cameo moment at the X Mansion. Um, there's some great funny moments. A lot of unexpected things, like things you didn't expect to happen. And and again, it's definitely worth seeing. But to me, honestly, as funny as it is, it really didn't. It didn't kind of capture the spirit of the first for me. I think the first worked so much better for me because there was an outlaw spirit to it. Like it was one of those things like nobody wanted to make, and because it didn't have a spotlight on it, it worked because they just kind of went with whatever they felt like. I think this one, I think as fun and funny as it is, I think they're spending a little bit too much time kind of transitioning into an X Force film, and I think that's going to be a problem. I think what makes Wade Wilson, what makes Deadpool work is his anti-group mentality. It's the fact that he wants to be a part of a group and no one will let him, and there are reasons why. Like it just doesn't work out, and just kind of having him. And then I understand that the film has kind of a family message to it, and that actually works. I actually like how that worked overall in the Deadpool 2. But again, as far as just overall quality, it just never really. I never really felt that I was watching an evolution of something. I never really looked at it at the time I was watching it and thought, hey, you know what, this is moving forward. I just thought it was a really funny film that's along the same lines as the first one. So, but believe me, if they do a Deadpool 3, I'm still there in the theater. I'm absolutely there in the theater because it's still an incredibly funny movie, incredibly funny premise, and Ryan Reynolds is amazing in that role. Like he absolutely captures everything that's awesome about Deadpool. So it's definitely one. It's definitely worth seeing. So movie stuff aside, and I know there's a lot of other news, like there's like TV stuff and upfronts, and I think I'm probably going to do something separate, talking about all the TV stuff that I'm looking forward to, and frankly just kind of going into what to look forward to either after the summer. But what I really want to talk about is comics. Comic books. There've been a lot of really great comics coming out recently, and frankly, I think more than anything, I kind of want to talk about some of the great stuff that came out this week. I mean, I'm recording this on a Wednesday, so I think so everything is fresh because Wednesday is new comic book day. So that's when new issues come out. So everything I'm talking about today is stuff that came out today. So I'm gonna go ahead and upload this tonight, so it's ready for you. And I'm gonna recommend you. These are the books I definitely recommend you picking up. Now, the first one is The Man of Steel #1, and this is Brian Michael Bendis's first book after leaving Marvel. He's taken over this Superman story, and it's awesome. It's going to be a weekly event. It's great. One of the things I really enjoy about it is that he's kind of taking a new approach to Superman's origins, and the art by Ivan Reis is amazing. Like if you're watching this on the YouTube channel, you'll see a picture of one of the panels where he has Firefly and Killer Moth in his grip, and you see they've brought back the classic look, including the red tights, the red are they underpants? Because they're not under. So is they overpants, red overpants? Because that's kind of what I want to call them. So he's got the red overpants, but it's a great story. It introduces a new character, and I'm gonna butcher the name, but I think it's like Ronan Gall. But it introduces a new character who has a unique connection to the events that transpired on Krypton. So I really want to see how Bendis is going to add this character to the mythology. Just kind of see where it goes, because it's definitely an interesting book for a first issue. Now, the next book I want to talk about is No Justice #4. And this one's written by Scott Snyder, Joshua Williamson, and James Tynion IV. And it's got some amazing art by Francis Manapul. Now, this is the final issue of No Justice, but it's not like the end of the story. It's kind of like the beginning of a series of new stories. Because I think like once this ends, it's definitely going to be the beginning of something great. So in No Justice #4, you've got the teams having to head back to Earth because the trees are growing, and the four, kind of Galactus looking creatures who are there to devour the planet have surrounded the Earth, and the teams of both heroes and villains, they have to come up with a pretty unique and different way of stopping the threat, of ending the threat. And then at the end of the story, some really interesting dynamics begin to form with certain characters. Like we see and I don't want to give away too much, but you're going to see the beginning of a classic, basically a classic team coming back. You're going to see that form, and just from the entire series, keep an eye on Green Arrow, because there's some really interesting and fun things happening with him as a character that they're introducing, that they introduced in this story, that's going to go forward. And I'm definitely interested to see where that transition takes place. Now, getting into Marvel, and I'm going to probably do another comic book episode this week, because there are a lot of comics I read, and some really great ones from Oni Press and Dynamite and Boom Studios and Archaea. So I'm gonna talk about kind of all of those in one big episode. But these are some of the ones I wanted to highlight for today. So definitely one of the big ones this week was Amazing Spider-Man #800. And the reason why I say it was big is because, one, it was 80 pages long, so it's a big story. It's gonna it was wrapping up a lot of things, but also it was $9.99. So this is like a $10 book for 80 pages. And I'll be honest with you, it was absolutely worth it. It was worth the money. Like it was written by Dan Slott. You had art by Stuart Eminem, Nick Bradshaw, Humberto Ramos, Giuseppe Camuncoli, and Marco Smith. Like, they did some amazing artwork in this book, and I love all of the covers for Amazing Spider-Man. I love anything by Alex Ross. So these have been absolutely amazing as well. But this is a great story. You've got Spider-Man's friends, his foes, his family, like everyone rallying around him to take on the Red Goblin, which is the combination of Norman Osborn and the Carnage symbiote. So that's just a nightmare in and of itself. And it's a big story, and the fact that they have the time and they take the time to tell it in a way that keeps you engaged, but also sets up some really great stuff going forward for these characters. And even the fact that there's a pretty tragic death that happens in this book, and I'm not going to spoil it for you, because I definitely want you to go ahead and read it. I want you to pick it up and read it, because it's a new dynamic for Peter going forward, and there's some really interesting things happening with the Osborn family, with Peter, just everything going forward. I definitely recommend picking up Amazing Spider-Man #800. And the final comic I'm going to talk about is Daredevil #603. Now, this one is written by Charles Soule, with art by Mike Henderson. I love the art by Henderson in this book. Like, everything has just crisp lines to it. Like, everything looks like it's in motion, and I absolutely am in love with the artwork in this book. It's amazing. This one it takes place 36 hours into, not 36. Is it 36? I think it's 63. It's 63 hours into Matt Murdock being the mayor of New York after Wilson Fisk is assaulted by the Hand. And what I really enjoyed about this is it kind of brings it brings a lot of things together, a lot of different story aspects, and a lot of different compromises that Matt is going to have to make in order to make his job as both Daredevil and the mayor work. And part of that is he's going to have to, team up with some people that aren't necessarily the best. And so in order to get some generals out on the field, he's going to have to team up with some unsavory characters. And even, I even like the fact that in the beginning of the story, you've got Elektra coming back who's basically trying to leave the city because she didn't want to have anything to do with the Hand or with the Beast. And then how Matt convinces her to stay is by having a conversation that I really want to hear about when it's over, because it seems incredibly interesting. So Daredevil number 603 is a really good book. It's definitely one I recommend. And with everything, you can find all these news items and movie reviews, TV reviews, trailers, and content on my website, Superpowered Fancast, which you can find at superpoweredfancast.com. And you can always email me, superpoweredfancast@gmail.com. Any questions, concerns, anything that you want to hear more about, anything that you like, anything that you don't, you can definitely reach me there. You can also follow me on Twitter at superpoweredfan. And you can also find news articles, reviews, and comic book reviews you can find on Geeks Worldwide at www.thegww.com. So for episode 47 of the Superpowered Fancast, this is Darren signing